Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fintech Friday show. With me here today is our co-hosts Roy at Crossroads and Tevis, fun of investing on all the platforms.
Yeah, I heard you opened to Twitch. Is that true?
It's been open for a while, but yeah, I've never told anyone. And then a bunch of people were talking about how they prefer Twitch. So I was like, well, I should let people know because they prefer that player than.
Yeah, B-Dubs nailed it. You're blaming being late on your new $15,000 computer, Tanner?
So from what I heard from one of my mods is that my motherboard is prone to internet issues. So it might, I don't know. Maybe I just bought a lemon. I walked in, bought like the most expensive PC that they had at the place, and then walk out with issues immediately, which is good. But it's fine. Anyway, let's talk Robinhood, PayPal, SoFi, Nubank. We have a lot of fintech news this week, and I think we're going to get a wide range of opinions on this panel. And if potentially Steve ends up joining us, which I heard that he will, that will also add to the flavor, being the number one bear in the SoFi community that Steve and Fiorillo is. I kid. But where do you guys want to start first?
Maybe with some quicker ones, and we'll just kind of flow through.
Sure, go ahead.
So, Shift 4 was one of those reported. I've been gone 2 weeks, so I feel like there's been a lot of stuff, but I nearly became a shareholder of Shift 4, and Jared Isaacman's like, no, I'm going to buy the dip, insider buy, and so the stock closed $10 higher than my cash secured puts, which is okay. I made money, so.
Yeah. I think that's the fun thing, right? Is like whenever you're in accumulation phase, it's always good for the stock to go up, but in the same breath, you're like, man, I had confidence before this. I didn't need this. Stay down and let me gain confidence down here.
I was absolutely fine with either. That's the nice thing about cash secured puts is like, okay, Shift 4, reported, and it's been kind of interesting with a lot of payments names that they report actually really good results and then they sell off. Shift 4 ended up missing revenue and EPS, I believe, but they raised guidance and it was a really nice raise. It was a good read, actually. Not their best earnings ever, but I was like, okay, this dumped. At one point, it was down like 30%, I believe, and I didn't catch it then. But I saw it. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. This is a quality name. I'll sell a cash secured put, and I'll either have a swing position where I'll maybe be out of it in 6 months, or I'll be happy to make some premium off of the cash secured put. And so I did that, and made some money instead. But that's okay. There's been a lot of names that similarly were hit in fintech, just like that. One of them I saw in the comments. I don't have a strong opinion on this one, but DLocal had some really strong earnings this week. Myself, I don't have confidence in it just because they really lean hard into that payment service provider space. It's a little bit more of a challenging market to get into, which does serve as a bit of a moat for them in South America primarily. I just don't know, with the direction that stablecoin is going and payments are going abroad, that I'd want to be in another international play that is primarily a payment service provider play. But it was a really good report. Are you warming up to DLo, either of you guys, or just letting other people ride that name, or what are your thoughts?
I honestly haven't had much time this week. Just things kept popping up, so I didn't end up getting a chance to look into their earnings too deeply. But I did find that interesting, you hearing or you talking about a payment service provider that you might not want to touch.
No, I mean, like I have PayPal already, and it's like 40%-ish payment service provider. That's the total payment volume from Braintree. I'd argue it's actually less just because you look at where the revenue actually comes as far as the net revenue, transaction margin dollars, and it's not primarily through Braintree. But yeah, I just like buy now, pay later. I think that these payment service providers that offer an ecosystem, and I think that's what DLo is aiming for. do a lot better over the long term than let's just go after this one little niche and that's it. Not that you can't survive in the niches, but others are always coming for you in the space. So,
Yeah. Speaking of Shift4, I mean, you said they bought the dip, but just a little bit more clarification. He bought $16.3 million of a company that he founded over 25 years ago. And he's still just actively putting money back into buying more stock because he thinks it's undervalued. And he thinks this street just completely doesn't understand the company, didn't understand their earnings, thinks that the CFO transition was not a bear case at all, and that they essentially brought someone off the board of directors to go on the CFO position and then brought the CFO and put them on the board of directors. And, that he doesn't think that that's a sign of a failing business. So, which it's not. I mean, that's actively the case. But I'm curious on your opinion of the way that you look. Like a lot of the way that I look at PayPal is a company that's just structurally intact. Many people think they're dying. The valuation is not maybe as great as it could be. Whenever you compare that to Shift4, what do you think about that name versus PayPal? Both playing in similar spaces and extremely, extremely cheap.
Yeah, Shift4 is more vertically integrated, so they don't have the mess that PayPal got into, where they acquired a whole bunch of stuff, never really integrated it well, didn't upgrade their own tech stack very much, and it was not a strong model under Dan Schulman. There were some things that he did well, but there's a reason why he's gone. And so Alex Chriss is changing that. It takes time to do a turnaround versus Shift4. It's just handing off from the founder to another leader, and incredible vertical integration. It helps on everything, just from speed to actually launch products to actually having a control over your bottom line, your margin. And they are differentiated enough that they win a lot of business not on competing on costs, but actually just performance. So they're more niche. I don't think that they will be forever. I think that they'll continue to expand and grow. But we'll have to see. That's one of the things with when a company shifts, even if it's a credible leader off of a founder, somebody that's a startup guy, a lot of times that vision shifts. And so instead of like we're in full expansion mode and we're going to try out all these new areas and grow into these areas, they instead say, okay, let's maintain, let's strengthen what we've actually built up. And I actually am thinking that that's probably the direction that Shift4 goes, but I might be wrong. I think, you can hear comments one way or another, but it's just too early to say for sure.
Yeah, just so people are aware, this is a company called Shift4, ticker symbol 4, which is a much smaller name than maybe what we're used to talking about, $8 billion business.
Yeah.
But there's a high likelihood that you might have used their terminals or your payments have flown through their system at one point or another. And they're a fast grower. And the thing is even talking about the leadership changes, it's more akin to like if Shopify had transitioned from Toby Lutke being the CEO to making Harley Finkelstein the CEO, and Toby still stays on as chairman of the board. Like, would anything change?
It might, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a possibility of that, but what I'm saying is Jared Isaacman's not gone. And the person who's been running the business for years is still running the business now. So,
yeah, like even with somebody on the board, though, it doesn't mean that they're going to keep and maintain that direction or that pace, that cadence. So that's kind of what I'm looking out for. I'm not.
You don't think that's the case though? After he just invests $16 million more that he wants to keep.
But like, it wasn't the 16 million just to reassure market sentiment that there would be continuity in that execution power?
You have that kind of money?
Jared Isaacman does. And if he's the founder, then like what is 16 million compared to the market cap loss that they would have had otherwise?
How did Jared Isaacman make his money?
They're all in shares of Shift4. I get it. But
yeah, so he's not selling Shift4 to buy Shift4.
No, Tanner, you're not getting my point. My point is that this is the same as like Anthony Noto buying at $4 to instill some more confidence in the stock to not fall even further.
Yes.
It shows an alignment of interest. So my point is like in the case that Isaacman had not bought shares, we don't know this, but in a parallel universe, if he had not bought shares, Shift4 would have lost more than 16 million in market cap. So if you look at it from that perspective, this is almost like, okay, it's a good sign that he's buying. It inspires confidence.
Well, yeah, it doesn't really work that way though. Like if he puts in $16 million, he doesn't need the stock to go up more than 16 million.
I understand. I'm saying it's a token amount for this individual, considering their net worth. He's like a billionaire. And
yes, but if you add up all the purchases that Anthony Noto has made to buy SoFi in the open markets, it's about 16.3 million, which was about how much he bought in 2 days.
dude, I know, but like, what is their net worth differences?
I mean, I think the difference is the
What's
amount
Isaacman
that
have?
he has in cash. I don't know how different they are in the amount that they have in cash.
Doesn't Isaacman have like $3 billion or something?
No. I think he's like 1 point something.
Oh.
But it's a lot of it is in stock. He's the largest shareholder of Shift4.
It's bullish either way, but my point is like you could slice it, you know, in the first layer to say, oh, he's bullish, therefore he is buying because he believes that those shares will appreciate, or in that deeper level to say he is bullish to inspire investor confidence in Shift4, and both could be true.
Yeah. All I'm saying is I don't think that he's putting down 16 million. Obviously, he's inspiring confidence, but I don't think he's putting down 16 million and then going on the board and then doesn't care about the cadence of the business. You know,
I
like,
mean, like it's
what else is he doing with his time right now?
It's a good thing no matter how you slice it. And he's there, you know, there's only one reason to buy ultimately, it's to make money. Like they'll be fine, but I think that did signal a lot of confidence. I don't think that Shift4, like had Isaacman stayed for another 5 years versus him handing things off and being on the board, I think that they're going to be in two different places. But neither of those are going to be very bad. It's just Isaacman. Well, let's see who said it. Brandon Bowman in my chat said Jared will probably start another company in the aerospace realm. He's a startup guy, so probably going to start something that's close, near and dear to his heart. So it's not that you can only do one thing, but I expect that most of his energy and time is going to be focused on that more so than anything else. And he'll be there, you know, if Shift4 needs him. He'll check in from time to time. He'll pitch ideas. But yeah.
He's been running the same company for 26 years. I don't know how much of a startup guy he is. Like, you know, same business since he was 16.
Well,
now
listen to the way he talks. You interviewed him.
No, I get that, but I'm not brushing off this purchase. I think that it was important considering the fact that I was worried that once he left, he was going to start to trim. So to buy is the complete like hold is one thing, but that's still tentative that he will sell into the future. A buy kind of secures the fact that he actually does not want to slowly part from Shift4. This furthers his relationship in Shift4. I just think that that's a good signal. And I think the market picked up on that as well. I mean, we're up 11% on the week. Like off of what earnings that really spooked investors, but they're still expecting 30% compounded annual growth rates over the next 3 years, like as an average across those 3 years, and they're being priced like they're a PayPal. There's a big difference between a 5%, you know, growth rate and a 30% growth rate if they achieve it. Obviously, I think that there's a chance that they don't achieve it because they're probably one of the few companies in the market that actually guides to their real hopes. They don't sandbag their guidance. So they do miss from time to time, but that's not usually because of underperformance. It's usually because they're showing off guidance that is what their real internal targets are.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they're quite priced as a PayPal. They're priced cheap, and you have to, you know, can't look just purely on PE just because they are growing a lot faster than PayPal. But this is a whole area though that for whatever reason there's two segments or two spaces that really have gotten hit this year, and everything else has done fairly well. There's exceptions, of course, but that's healthcare. UNH, you know, maybe we'll talk about that. I see some comments. Super investors and what happened there, and also payments. Payments has been for whatever reason as a sector, and I think maybe stablecoin is just spooking people. But there's a lot of companies like PayPal that reported really strong beats and very good guidance, and got sold off and killed anyway, even though they weren't trading at an extreme multiple. So kind of made me feel better about PayPal, just because I'm like, well, misery enjoys good company, I guess. But honestly, it's a sector thing too. So like it could be a while before that reverts and people understand that almost all of these, I don't know Shift4 nearly as well, are involved in stablecoin and crypto to some capacity, some more so than others, but like none of them are just like, oh, stablecoin's going to kill us. That's just not realistic. It's like the dumbest take, but that's what's happening right now with a lot of these names. So DLo is also, trading cheaply. Of course, it is international, but it's just the payment sector right now.
Piyush is in Tevis's chat asking him about who's going to win. I also think Hamzat's going to win, but no one asked me my opinion.
Nobody cares. Yeah, my entire chat is like, who are you picking for football bets? Who are you picking for UFC bets? And then your chat is talking about Shift4.
Yeah, my finance channel's talking about finance. You're just talking about sports. Honestly, why don't you create a sports betting channel? I feel like you also have strong opinions on that market.
It's I do, but maybe I'll make some live streams or whatever. I don't need a full channel for it to just encourage my degeneracy.
I mean, you're pretty degenerate when you're betting on preseason football. I had to do double check. I'm like, I think it's preseason still. So yeah, the Titans are my team. So when you said they won, I'm like, okay, I better not be missing a regular season game.
I'm betting serious amounts. I've missed football season, man. I'm happy it's back.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good time.
And I had
probably will be offering that once it's actually regular season. So that'll be a nice little boost in addition to the prediction markets, which are doing well.
That'll be nice for you, Roy. But you're talking to the wrong audience here.
You can't use it?
No. Yeah, I wish. Do you want to talk about UNH at all? Or
yeah, take it away.
Add some type of value.
Now, you were in some UNH like swings or leaps or something?
Yeah, I was in UNH spreads. I also have about 9% of my portfolio in UNH, which I was accumulating through cash secured puts at like 250. I think my average is like 260, 265. And then I have some covered calls on them too. So it's been a good week. But yeah, just as a trade, I want to eventually get out of that, within the next. Honestly, I think that these investors that got into UNH, so we got Buffett, we got Burry, we got Renaissance, we got David Tepper, we got a whole bunch of others who bought into UNH. We got me and Chris Patel. And I think now with these mega investors joining, it's going to form somewhat of a floor. And I want to be really careful when I say that, because I don't mean from a technical perspective. I just mean that these are not going to be short term, like I'm buying tomorrow to flip it for next week type of folks. They're going to be buying it for a long period. And
Renaissance could definitely already be gone. But
Renaissance could, and I'm sure Burry could as well. But in the case of Buffett, for example, buying 5 million shares like that, and his cost basis was above $300. In fact, there was this post which I was seeing where they were saying that this reporting was only until a certain period, where until end of June, I believe, and that we could see a Q3 report that even shows a much larger purchase to average down essentially that position, because it's still such a very small percentage of his portfolio. The point being, number one, to have all of these investors who have very different styles focus on the same company just signals to the market that this is in fact a no-brainer type of a play that all of these people of these different schools can agree on. And the number two is that a lot of these people are going to be in it for multiple quarters, if not multiple years. So I think that rally has some momentum, and especially because the retail sentiment sort of shifted. I mean, this week, I remember we were doing bootleg, Roy and myself on Tuesday, and we were actually talking about what was Buffett's secret stock. And I said, it could absolutely be UNH. And now that after hours, UNH, the news dropped that at 13F filings, and the stock popped like 10% immediately off of Buffett. Like everybody was popping champagne. And so I think that the rally has legs. There's some momentum that it can absolutely keep going. And I had a great week in UNH. I think that, I don't know, it can definitely get there faster, because I know that people were planning for a 2-year turnaround instead of a 2-month turnaround. Realistically, I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. The company still has flaws that they have to fundamentally get out from under, but it's definitely a sign of confidence.
Can I just point out a comment
think
really
it's
quick? This guy said, I need the price of SoFi to go down so I can buy more at a good price. Might start a rumor about Noto. And you know what's so funny is I think institutions honestly think like this and do things like this on millions and billions of dollars worth of scale.
And I mean, like, we're going to talk about SoFi in just a second, but like, speaking of popping champagne, UNH was not the only one. SoFi had its highest weekly close as a publicly traded company this week at $23.77. So, I think that one is definitely forming higher highs and higher lows as well.
Yeah. So this the turnaround is still in process. Like, this actually changed absolutely nothing for the actual business. But what it has done, and I agree with you, Tevis, is that there's a nice security blanket there of the super investors that are in, and most of them probably will just remain in. That doesn't mean that the price can't go down lower. It doesn't mean that everything's great with UNH and everything's fixed. This would have been like if I got into PayPal in 2023, which I did, and Warren Buffett bought it. Great, we went up, awesome. Would not have fixed anything with the actual business. So I still think it's going to take a couple of years for UNH to turn around what they need to turn around. There's a lot of headwinds there too. So, but congratulations to shareholders. This isn't, some people takes were like, oh, you guys just got lucky. It's like, no, this is investing, and there's silly reasons for sell-offs usually, or at least it's usually overdone. And there's also reasons like this, which fundamentally nothing shifted, but it's still a strong signal. Same with Jared Isaacman buying Shift4. Those sort of things give a lot of investors confidence. They're able to hold long term. They're like, hey, I'm not the only idiot buying this stock that's way down, and I'm down on it. So, it's not fair to say to people like, hey, you just got lucky.
Yeah. Do we want to transition over to some SoFi? Sure. I do think, Tevis, it's been a long time that we've been covering this company, and we cannot honestly say that we've covered this company in the past in any form of all-time highs, at least as a group together. We've always been those dip buyers that were trying to convince the mob that we're not crazy and that there is something here fundamentally in the business. And now it looks just like the market is starting to realize that there is a lot of growth there. And what I mean by that is not that the stock is not at all-time highs, because it is, but the amount of growth that's happened since the last highs is just insane. So the multiples are not even there, or not even close there. Obviously, the growth rates have changed, and the expectations into the future have changed, but the execution has been amazing from SoFi. And like we saw last quarter, they look like they're about to get better and better. So my question to you guys, now that we are at all-time highs on the ticker stock of SoFi, not IPOE, are we buying more? And when I say we're not a collective investing group, but how are you guys personally thinking about this? And share it with the class.
Do you remember last Friday, I shared my position? It was just me and you, Tanner. I shared my $23 cash secured puts, and people in the chat were laughing because the stock was at $22. And all I have to say is you're welcome, all of you. Because we're above $23 now, and we were at 24, I think, earlier this week. So yeah. That's really where I'm at. I'm not really buying shares actively on the open market, but I am definitely writing contracts opportunistically. And if I get assigned shares, then I'm happy to do that. And if not, then I'm happy to collect premium. I already have like a pretty built out long-term position.
Roy, the Wonder Boy.
It's over 10%, so I can't buy anymore. I can add some, for a tactical swing over, multiple quarters, but I don't allow myself to do that, for most tickers. So, and SoFi's, it would have to either the rest of my portfolio would have to drastically outperform SoFi, or we would end up, maybe just, I don't know, have a uncle I don't know about give me an inheritance, and that sort of thing. But no, like realistically, SoFi would have to pull back quite a bit for me to add.
I think this is yours, Roy.
Oh wow, thank you, Osiris.
He was ignoring it when he thought it was one of ours.
but I'll take your gift. I will buy. I'll just buy another share of PayPal. So
can you buy another share with $50? Is it down that much?
No, it's
no.
like
He's going to fill the gap.
You'd be like, what the heck? I need to buy PayPal.
Yeah, no. Think like if it was down that much, I would be like screaming at people like, this is dumb. You should be buying this. Like not quite, financial advice, but no, PayPal's in the same boat as SoFi. Like it's overweight. It's over the 10% threshold. Some of it is in my swing portfolio. This I'd just buy a share and add to it. So thank you so much for that gift. That's very nice. I'm not going to let myself go over that 10%. It's my own rules. Now, if it runs up, and SoFi, I think, has a lot more legs. Somebody asked me today, they're like, if you didn't have there's something like, if you didn't have a SoFi position and you had some money, would you be interested in this? I'm like, yeah, if I had long-term horizons, which I do, I would have no problem buying right here. Like, I just don't. Oh, man. Osiris.
Buy more SoFi.
I'll buy some SoFi. All right. You got me.
I think that one was mine, but...
Oh, that's yours. Okay. Well, maybe I have to do that anyway. But honestly, like SoFi, it really does have a lot of legs left to run.
Actually,
I'm not looking to. I've sold some options just because that's the nature of my leaps. Is when I'll buy those, it'll be when it's ridiculously undervalued. I think I was loading up on those when SoFi was like $7, and you have to take profits on them or exercise them. I've got a bunch of shares too that I'm just like happy to hold long term. There's no reason to ever sell those. Covered calls would have to really get away or something stupid, but plan is just to keep holding those sell options, and I might exercise a few options just to round out. To
he just does degen on mine. He doesn't say buy anything.
Go degen, man.
Like degen.
Well, that was like who posted that Venn diagram online?
Oh,
me and Mitt and Roy's. Did you see that, Tevis?
Yeah, pull it up.
I don't remember who it was or where.
That was funny, Osiris.
Yeah, there's this great Venn diagram that somebody made between.
Okay, I found it. Nate Glass.
Oh, you got it? Bring it up.
Yeah. Nate Glass ended up posting a diagram of our investments between myself, Amit, and Roy. And I don't think they watch me nearly as much as they watch Roy and Amit because they just put stuff on mine, which I get it. It's fair. But what I actually think, I put it in the comments. I think you should probably put Shopify for me in terms of the names that are not a part of this Venn diagram. And then maybe Amit and I would share Google, which
I don't even know where I would fit in that Venn diagram because it's like kind of a little bit with everybody.
You'd have stuff.
Yeah, you'd be the bubble over top.
Stuff.
And then a separate bubble on the side for degen.
Man, I made this Venn diagram around the investors in UNH, and I added my own name into the Venn diagram, and I think some people took it seriously. It was just like, guys, this is a shit post. But it just reminded me of that. But yeah, what were we talking about, Roy?
I not buying more SoFi. I just
so yeah, I wanted to share this with you guys. Like
I'm buying more. Okay.
My cousin just literally was like, "Hey, I finally am at that point in my life where I have a job, I have an emergency fund, and I now have some disposable income. I want to start investing. What should I get into?" And I was like, "Look, man, like, I don't know what your risk tolerance is, what your time horizon." He's just like, "Just put me in whatever you're in." And I told him, I was like, "Hey, look, this is how you research this company. This is what you have to look for." I sent him to the IR page. I showed him the earnings results, and he's starting to pick it up slowly. But SoFi is the main thing that I said, in his portfolio. I didn't put him in on, like any more risky picks. I know the market's sort of running. SoFi was the main thing. I said, hey, look, like start accumulating some SoFi. It's at a place right now where it was much cheaper if you had gone last year or 2 years ago, but I think it still has a lot of upside, regardless of where this market is, because the company is continuing to execute. And so I think, like, to Roy's question, like, if I didn't own any SoFi, would I be a buyer here? Yeah, absolutely, I would, because the company trajectory is going higher, right? Like, it's very difficult for a company that is growing fundamentally to not have their share price grow over a long time horizon. Usually, those things go in lockstep.
Overall, you guys are not bullish, I guess.
Super bullish, but there's a point where you're like, hey, this is like 20% of my portfolio. Maybe I need to ease up a bit. So it might be even a little bit higher. Now, one SoFi thing that we for sure have to share, which I loved, was this. Anthony Noto doing a little bit more. He's always been somewhat active on X, not like too active like Elon Musk active, but he'll reply, he'll post some things. Paper Boz here mentioned that some issue was corrected. And then Noto goes into this long post, well, for him anyway, on a roadmap essentially of SoFi Invest, which I thought was really interesting. Just a lot of stuff here. Some that we knew, like level 1 options, Q3, Q4 delivery, update there that's actually in beta, options trading in IRA, Q4 delivery. And I love like this sort of thing too. Targeting Q1 2026 delivery. I love this as a shareholder. Now, SoFi Invest is not the most important thing as it relates to SoFi. It's very small. I think, let's see, they did $7.542 million in Q2. So it's really tiny. But this is an area that honestly just helps the flywheel. It helps enhance their entire thing. And they're actually growing pretty rapidly if you look at it year over year. It's still like under the growth of the rest of their business, mostly because of the loan platform business and Interchange is flying up. But man, I loved seeing Noto more active and just sharing, here's the roadmap, here's what we're doing, here's the timeline. Man, that just helps so much as a shareholder.
Well, they also mentioned on the earnings call that Invest was an area that they were, no pun intended, investing in over the next couple of quarters actively. And so it's really interesting now that he shows the tactical layer to reinforce it in investors' minds that, hey, the brokerage side of the business, the consumer app side of the business, like that's getting a lot of love as well. And you can expect higher velocity and product innovation over the coming quarters because it's something that the company literally, set the stage in a couple weeks ago on their earnings call.
Here's so off of the financial services side, I had a little video that's on this and details some of this too. But brokerage is one of those areas where it's like, yeah, it's lagged for a long time, but you can see it's a real improvement. It's still small. Of course, when crypto is launched, that's going to help them a lot too. But adding all of those features, he mentioned that after I'd submitted the video, I'm like, man, the more compelling that platform actually gets, and I have seen them roll out some incentives. This is going to ramp up, quite well and quite nicely, especially since they're a bank. A lot of their customers, have their assets there too. They're not leaving SoFi. They'll only add assets over time. The other place that, it's also been not really a loser overall for Interchange, but credit cards is a big part of this. But Interchange is growing rapidly. I believe it's 83% growth year over year, which is insane. And there's also some regulatory changes. Regulation 2 off of the can't think of it. It's this long title. The Dodd-Frank Act in 2011. Basically, it's something that capped the amount of interchange that they could have on debit cards for a bank or at least a financial institution that has over 10 billion of assets. So in effect, those that are not under that threshold, and SoFi certainly is, they basically charge double the interchange rate there. So this wouldn't double the interchange revenue right away, but it's basically, I did that video just because it's so nice when you as a business take an area that's been a weak spot, that's been a drag, that's been a negative, and they're actually beginning to grow this one, nicely, and this one just insanely as that flywheel continues to build out. So
did you guys see the SoFi rankings versus other banks this week?
56th.
Yeah. Yeah. I can show a trend here. It also is quite a step up quarter over quarter, which is interesting because the higher we go, the harder it is to keep climbing. The gaps between the banks get wider. But this quarter was quite the step up here. Let me bring it up.
By the way, thank you, Christine, for the donation.
Duolingo, nice.
Duolingo, yeah. You guys, we have to get Chris on to do a stock tank episode on Duolingo. I've been buying more this week.
I'm pretty interested in that one. Maybe we'll talk about that after hours, or we can do it here too. But
yeah, no, I started a position.
Nice.
This is the trend over time. If I even expand it out a little bit further, you can see where we were in Q1 of 2022 as the 449th largest bank to now being 56th and continuing to grow, and look at the step up in the consolidated assets for SoFi. So very, very interesting. You can see how that looks like over time. And then this is another institution that also tracks SoFi as well, but they haven't updated for Q2 yet. But this is the main one that just got updated this week as well.
Yeah, I really like that. That for probably ever since SoFi has acquired the banking license, it's been a benefit to their business, but it's also been a negative as far as perception, just because there's a lot of regulation and a lot of additional scrutiny against banks, and probably in excess, honestly. And so we've seen pushback in this administration against some of that regulation. Now, some I'm not too thrilled about. For instance, the CFPB 1033, which is the basically allowing fintech access to banking APIs, or mandating it rather. That looks like it's going away. That rule is being vacated. But allowing banks to actually participate in crypto, that's really meaningful for SoFi, but also for other banks too. And on little things like the interchange stuff, like and also how much you need to have as far as assets versus lending out against it. There's a lot of stuff that is just getting better and easier for SoFi. And I think you'll see that on the bottom line for the business, but you also see, I think, the narrative shift too. So it's more than a bank, but it still is a bank. And we're going to see it continue to climb up those charts. Any guesses when will we get to top 50 this year? I don't know what's ahead of it.
What's the requirement for top 50? Like 40 billion?
Let's take a look. I think it'll be higher than it does start to gap up higher and higher. I'm surprised that we made 4 moves this quarter round, but still, like, it's funny because you think that those are static milestones, but they're not. Like, each one of these banks are also trying to grow in the exact same macro and country, or country and macro. Like, that's the really interesting part. And they still are outperforming all of those countries or banks' growths. Okay, so ahead of them, we have.
Can you throw it up?
Yep. Just zooming. SoFi Bank at 56. Ahead of them, Atlantic Union Bank at 37 billion. 38 billion is next. 41 billion, and then 42. So 50 is nearly 44 billion.
And is that Barclays at 49? Wow.
Barclays.
That can't be. Can it?
Well, they're not really a U.S. institution, so it definitely could be. If this is what they have. Yeah, that's them.
Wow. That'll be exciting.
Once you get to the top, though, the distances between the get insane. We're not even on the same, like, we're digits off.
Yeah, when we were lower down the list, a lot of those banks I had not heard of, and now it's like, well, most of them I've heard of, I'm familiar with. Some I still haven't. But
think of it this way: for it to break in the top 12, it's a 10x from here. in terms of the assets.
Yeah.
Yeah. CIBC's US stuff. Yeah, no, it's it gets the big names after a while. Holy.
Ally.
Yeah.
Is Buffett still in Ally, by the way?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Did you see? Oh, actually, this might be interesting to talk about. What's his face bought Nubank, started a new position in Nubank.
It was
Oh my god, it's the tip of my tongue.
Stanley Druckenmiller, is that what it was?
Druckenmiller, yeah. He started a new position in Nubank. He sold out of Tesla completely, and then he started a position in Nubank. That was interesting because Nubank also reported this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and they reported yesterday. So today you can see they closed up 9%, but at one point during the day they were up big.
Yeah.
They got up to $14.31, which would be a huge leg up. I'm not essentially buying or selling anything on that name right now. It's a worrisome macro still, but the execution just continues to happen, and they cleared up a lot of concerns around some of their slowing growth in certain segments that weren't really Nubank's fault. It was more macro in general. Like payroll loans ended up falling on like just across Brazil by 55%. Nubank ended up falling on originations for payroll loans by 50%. So they said, hey, you know what? These numbers that we have are not great, but we still took market share, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So it was a countrywide, supposedly like technical issue or something, but that'll get back on track. And the Mexico growth and everything, like they have like, is it 13% of adult population in Mexico already? 9% of adult population in Colombia already? They made up for like 28% of all new credit cards in Mexico were written from Nubank.
Yeah, and the really neat thing about that is you knew like when they initially entered into Mexico, like they're going to get like those that are more affluent as far as like with technology and likely higher income wage earners, but who they've done well with is the underbanked or the non-banked, and but that takes a while to build up. That takes I thought it'd actually take longer than what we're seeing now. So between the read that they had on the franchise depositories, margin was like probably the biggest thing that I was focused on this quarter, and the read, of course, from Colombia and Mexico. And it was a great report. Now, depending on who you follow, they either had a narrow miss or a narrow beat, but like there's a reason why the stock went up more than 10%. I think it ended up 9% up, but just really good solid report. And it's nice to not have that ridiculous headwind from the exchange between the Brazilian real and the USD. But
I mean, a nice report and a nice surge up, but that thing's been flat, man, for like half of this year, all of this year. I remember, Nubank had popped to like 15, 16, and I said, oh, nice, like it's going to continue. And I say this, granted, I sound a little bit, spoiled when I say this, but I'm comparing it. I'm comparing it with the previous year where Nubank was just up and to the right. And it seemed like if you open up Hood's chart right now from, 14 to 114, that's what Nubank looked like, from $3 up to $10. And then it's just been seeing so much.
That's not true. As a shareholder, I will know very easily without looking at any charts, they consolidated so hard in the $7 and $8 range, like for months and months. And
sure, I mean, it was still up. Like I can pull it up. It's still
sure. All I'm saying is this has happened a couple times in Nubank history where it'll settle at a price and then double, settle, pop, settle, pop. So think about it as a good time to investigate, and it might be a name where you don't have to invest then investigate. You gotta have your time. You can take your time. You can investigate and then choose to invest if you want.
Yeah,
But
so that's all I'm saying. It's in one of those like holding patterns right now.
yeah, I think so as well. But whenever it pops, man, I mean, there's a real possibility that Nubank becomes one of the largest banks in the entire world. And I still think that they could be easily one of the biggest banks. I mean, a top 3 bank in the world. Um,
They just
and
that list, yeah. I mean,
Is
that's
is the US on their list? I think they were talking about this a little while back. I'm not sure where they are on that. Did they mention on the call?
yeah, they um if memory serves me well, that David Velez said a long time, years ago, that they could see themselves going into the US the same way that, Anthony Noto has made slight
Right.
comments about saying that they could go into Latin America. I mean, these are stretches.
Well,
Um,
I mean, the thing with Nubank is like I really love the deep penetration they have in all of these markets where a massive percentage of the population is using them. But I just feel like the missing piece there is the monetization aspect. Like the customers in the US, that same penetration would result in a much higher, financial situation because the what do you call it, like the lifetime value of the users are multiples worth of any lifetime value of anybody in Latin America. And so I think like them expanding into Europe or North America would be good because they can just have so much higher lifetime values with that same experience that they've clearly perfected through
It's
their
a lot
viral
more
growth.
competition. Like North America, the United States makes a lot of sense just because they have people that, maybe had a Nubank account, then moved to the United States legally or illegally, whatever, or family members. It just makes things very easy to also know a familiar face. Not all banks, although here in Texas, they certainly do, do well as far as providing the language needs of people. They're getting better at that, but it's still, there's a lag. So it's an easier setup here versus like Europe. If they announce that they're going to Europe like next year, I would probably take some off the table. Um, there's a lot more competition in that space, more opportunity too, in the sense of you have more people that are affluent. But I think that the growth there's going to be a lot more growth in Latin America than there. Now, Southeast Asia is an area that's going to grow a lot more rapidly too. And there's certain geographies within Africa, but those are who they excel at. And the nice thing is, like, this is really the mode of Nubank is they do very well in very difficult markets where a lot of people have failed. And so that just between you doing very well and making it that much harder for competition coming behind you and going into a place where like people just have not thrived and you make it work, you just don't have competition, not much of one. In the United States, the niche that they'd have through Latin America folks that are up here, that would work. That'd be an easy thing to do. They wouldn't have to like go full force and be Nubank and have all these branches that they build out or anything like that necessarily. But yeah, we'll have to see. I like their strategy that they're currently doing. And when I was on the sidelines, just like you are right now, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was looking at it and I was like, okay, they're just starting in Mexico. If they reach Mexico, they can reach anywhere in Latin America. Like there's a couple of French speaking colonies, but I mean, like for the most part, there's not a reason why they wouldn't be able to succeed there. Plus, they already have Portuguese because of Brazil, and they have Spanish. There's a whole lot of former colonies and now countries that speak or have a lot of people that speak Portuguese and Spanish. Not that they need the language thing, but it makes it a lot easier when you're expanding.
What I also find very interesting about going to the States, obviously, I want them to do that, but I think it'll be very similar to Adyen. I think about them often. There's just so much competition, like Roy has said. Although the customer accounts or the value of the customer is really good, the churn will also be much higher. The customer acquisition cost will be much higher. The cost of deposits will be really high. There has been some comments, like even Brad Freeman tweeted about this, how he's seeing rumors that Nubank is buying Brubank, which is a fintech in Argentina. Potentially, they're going to acquire this and expand into Argentina next. They've obviously said that they wanted, probably about a year ago, they said they want to do that in the next 18 months. So maybe we're in the next 2 quarters or so of entering that market. and then you also start the cycle again of growth, which actually investors have mostly hated, which is so funny. They grow in these new markets, but then
It's
it
very
lowers.
short-sighted. Well, and it's mostly because it does compress. Yeah.
Sorry, what did I cut out?
You're good.
Yeah,
You're
I think
both
so.
good. Continue.
Oh, it just lagged for me. Sorry, I don't know what.
Well, I was going to say it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that Nubank is, whenever they expand into new markets, it, actually lowers a lot of their KPIs and stuff because one, they have to accelerate on growth in new markets, so customer acquisition cost raises, and then their average revenue per user lowers a ton because they get this massive influx of new customers. But yeah.
And they did actually, I had to pull it up, register in April for Argentina specifically. So, yeah, they're heading that way. Under Millier, I think it makes a lot of sense too. But yeah, just short-term, short-sighted, mostly retail investors that are like, oh man, if they do this, it's going to hurt over the short term. Yes. If you're a long-term investor, you want to see them expand that TAM. If they just stayed in Brazil, yeah, they'd be a great bank and very strong, but not nearly as strong as they'd be over 10 years if they continue to expand the current way that they're doing. So I'm excited.
What's it called? Did you guys follow? Oh, I just lost my train of thought, actually. I think we already covered it. Never mind. What else did you guys want to cover for today as we get near the end of the stream?
Oh, yeah, one thing. So
I think for sure. Go ahead.
Somebody on X was commenting around, I can't remember who it was because I would definitely call them out, but they were commenting on Noto's product announcements, and they were saying that, why wasn't there any crypto announcements? And they were saying this could be speculation that there are like mid-acquisition or in talks, or there's something behind the works that he like can't talk about that. I found that pretty interesting because in the earnings call, they mentioned that, invest was an area that they wanted to expand, and then crypto was an area that they wanted to expand in the second quarter. And we got all of these updates about invest, and we didn't get anything about crypto. Thank you, Big Sour, for the donation. Appreciate it. What do you guys think about the crypto announcements not being talked about at all?
I didn't think about that reasoning, but that makes 100% sense because he loves to do things that he can't speak about. So I could clearly see that being a reason. He said multiple times that crypto is happening in Q4. Not to bring that up is interesting. I also liked how many things he added that just like no one was thinking of. And it just goes to show you that there is so much that they are thinking of that we as commenters and judges of his company don't give him credit for the other things that they're launching or pushing out that, I don't know if you guys saw that as well. Like all the spending limit increases, that seems small and like small adjustments to make, but you're not doing that if you don't have customers that need those increases.
Yeah.
Okay. So the people who need daily $250,000 transfers between invest to checkings or $1 million on the week or month, I forget what it was, goes to show me that there are good customers that are still using SoFi Invest, and you're never going to see Chime putting out products like that because they have zero customers with that balance on their accounts. Maybe there's one. I'm sorry to offend the one Chime customer that has money.
I had to go back to the post. I think it's a little. I mean, it's just the entire post was focused on the invest side. So he is just talking about the invest side, and I think this is a case with Anthony Noto. Like, rather than complain about what he didn't give us, just be thankful that he gave us this. This isn't just like, oh, this is good for Anthony Noto and getting these details. This is good for any CEO to come out with. So this is, CEOs don't do this usually. Like, they might mention, oh yeah, we're working on that. That's coming out soon. But like this specifically and concretely with all these things, I freaking love that. Like, it's as good as anything out there. So like, I would not read too much into this, because again, the original guy was just talking about the invest platform, that he was silent on crypto. I think that in Noto's mind, that he regards crypto, yes, it will be an invest product. It will be accretive to that platform, but as something else, because they're not just relaunching the crypto invest platform saying, okay, now you can buy and sell. No, they want to actually be able to create a lot of products from that. I saw some comments earlier. Crypto lending would certainly be one of those. It's very likely, I think. A lot on tokenization, possibly. We'll have to see the direction they go. He's talked about payments a number of times with crypto, and probably a lot of stuff that maybe nobody else is talking about. That might be one of the reasons why in that interview with Liz Young, back a couple of quarters ago, where he basically said, hey, we're not going to share our big, hairy, audacious goals. This is him saying, these are fine to share, but there's something else. So,
did you watch the podcast with John Coulson and Vlad Tenev?
No, yeah, that was good. They were just cracking beers on the. It was great.
Yeah, it was a perfect podcast. Two, Vlad Tenev was asked, how you keep your customers so hungry, or sorry, not your customers, your employees so hungry to keep working. And what do you have to work on next? And he said, well, without giving away, our big goals and how we are winning so much, I was like, bro, we got flamed for saying that Anthony Noto would not give clear answers. And then Vlad essentially did a similar thing, but no, he ended up giving great solutions. But honestly, so did Anthony Noto as well. He said, oh, we can't end up talking about our big, hairy, audacious goal. And then in the same breath, he also said, well, we want to be maybe the biggest payments company in the world, and we would go after the Visas and the MasterCards and all that. I think that's what his big, hairy, audacious goal is. They just said it in the next question whenever he said, hey, what would you do if you had all the money in the world?
Yeah, no, I think so. And that's an area that's ripe for disruption too. And again, that's one of the reasons why, like, a pure payment service provider, I wouldn't want to be in that, because there's a lot of new entries all the time. Crypto makes a lot more possible. It doesn't remove the need for a lot of the things that we have as far as the existing payment rails, but it makes it easier to be a SoFi and just say, okay, here we are. But yeah, regarding that, I saw an article this week too. I was in vacation mode for most of the time, but I read an article that Vlad is actually looking to move employees off of work from home and bring them back into the office. And it's just interesting that we've continued to have this shift. Jamie Dimon, has of course been adamant about it for a long time, but used to be that a lot of the newer, more tech savvy CEOs were like, oh no, work away from home, or work from home actually works really, really well. We don't need to bring people back in the office, and just yet another pivot. So
did you hear there was another cool tidbit in that podcast? Like between Roy, myself, and Tevis, we have a little group chat insider joke called what would Tevis do? What's so funny is Vlad Tenev had a similar thing where he said, what would Frank Slootman do? And it's what he constantly questions about running his business. And he'll say, hey, you know what? Frank Slootman would have cut us apart about work from home. He would have cut us up about, choosing to give more products and services to passive new investors, when really the people that are making us money are the active traders and these sort of things. So we've only recently started to invest in that. That's also what I think is so important as well. And I think Anthony Noto tries to focus on this also. The loud audience does not mean the most important audience. And that Vlad Tenev said about polling his audience, like saying, hey, what would you guys like to see next? if they have 26 million customers and 1 million of those customers has that 80-20 rule almost, where like, such few customers make up for the majority of the revenue, they don't show up very well in those surveys. They don't show up well in the product asks. So sometimes I find that our audience begs and desires products on the SoFi Invest side, but the real answer for what makes you money is, hey, let's work on the lending side. Let's work on the loan platform business, because a single quarter of the loan platform business makes up for multiple years of what we're going to make on SoFi Invest. And that's the truth.
Real quick, I saw somebody say, "Oh, isn't Charles Stewart? Isn't that the Snow CEO, ex-CEO?"
Well, yeah,
but you don't say like terrible just because of that. Like, he actually did a great job with Snowflake. You can actually see there's a lot of things that he built up and built very well that handed off. They actually did the handoff very well too. I wouldn't say it was his perfect execution, but he was also the CEO for, I had to look it up, 6 years for ServiceNow. That business is where it's at because of Frank Slootman. He's one of the highest regarded operators out there.
Yes.
That does surprise me a little bit, Tanner, that Vlad is, looking up to him, and like, not that he's aware of it, like that's his thought is, what would Frank Slootman do? I would more see that actually from Anthony Noto, but it could be well the case, because he is one of those guys that a lot of younger CEOs do look up to and are like, oh man, if you emulate Frank Slootman, you could do a lot worse.
Well, I think that Snow was probably the one that didn't work, and that if you look at his total trajectory or his total portfolio of companies that he has been operating, like Frank Slootman is he's a Wall Street darling. Like,
yeah. Can you imagine if instead of Tim Cook that Frank Slootman was brought in? I think Apple would be in a better spot.
I don't know. Hard to tell.
He can really crack the whip, and I just don't see that happening with Tim Cook and Apple. Like, they're just, I don't know. A lot of times you can look at like one failure and just say this is it, but sometimes it's just a business that just didn't work out. Sometimes it's just not. And for him, like, he's not highly technical. So I think that the current CEO that they brought over from Google is going to be a better fit. Well, not directly from Google, but
I also think, like, for someone like Vlad, you have the creative part, you have the the customer behavior, the virality, you know, all of those things. Those are inherent to his character. Maybe the parts that are not inherent to his character is the and I'm not saying this to bash him, but if I were to find weaknesses, is like constant startup culture rather than a mature business, running it as it gets to. Sorry?
It's so hard to simultaneously be a successful operator, to take something 0 to 1 and then also take them public, and then also now $100 billion market cap. Like, those are completely different skill sets. And I think Zuck is one of the few that's done it successfully. And like a lot of companies, you'll see when they get to that point, IPO or shortly after IPO, they put in another operator who's been there, done that, right? Like, it happened with Microsoft, it happened with all of these companies, because it's so drastically different. And I think that Vlad, all things considered, keeping it lean is largely a part of that mentality.
Well, that's also why I think that he does look up to Frank Slootman, is because those might be his weaknesses. He doesn't need to look up to a Steve Jobs. He's doing Steve Jobs. I think he's might be looking to the people who, like I said, are more leaning on the side of his weaknesses. But still unbelievable. That's a really good podcast if anyone wants to check out Cheeky Pints with John Collison, who's the co-founder of Stripe. And there's a pretty good moment in there where Vlad really takes his time to pitch him on privatizing his stock and getting tokenized shares out to his community. And it's not going to happen with Stripe. He got flat out declined, but I loved the pitch, baby. Sure. It was still good.
That would have been so amazing if that actually landed.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to privatize, we're going to tokenize, and just us.
Yeah, he essentially said, like, hey, I get, like, the only way that you're essentially finding liquidity for your employees is through these tender offers, but how can retail get their, their beaks wet on this? And John was like, honestly, I don't really care. he's like, the LPs and the institutions and the banks that have employees that are getting these tender offers are people too. and that's a fair criticism, but they're one of the largest companies that is not public. It's actually crazy, probably how far down the list Stripe has gone as a public company just because of the AI darlings that have spawned and just skyrocketed above them.
Yeah.
Like, who were the companies 3 years ago that had a bigger market cap than Stripe on a pub or private market? SpaceX?
Datadog, maybe, but I don't think so.
Well, they're public.
They're public now.
Databricks, you mean?
Databricks, yeah. Yeah.
Databricks could, but even a couple of years ago, like, I don't know. And then after that, now, I mean, like, Anthropic has probably spawned above them.
Oh, yeah.
OpenAI for sure. Yeah, there would be a few.
Cargill, Coach.
Anything that's
Industries.
over 100 billion, I think, gets you above them.
Yeah, there's some big ones out there that we don't talk too much on just because they don't plan to ever go public. Versus Stripe has talked about it for a long time, but I think that they just see more negatives with going public versus, if they can raise all the money they want privately, why would they ever go public?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was one of his criticisms, is like, we're such a capital light business. And at the end of the day, you go public to raise capital. So if they don't need the capital, why go public?
And I think that it would actually hurt their valuation, which I know is weird, but they're in this space where they're one of just a handful of like really large, very profitable private companies. And it's a little bit of a unicorn versus if they go public, there's a whole bunch of other payment service providers. And you might say, hey, Stripe is the best of the best. But again, right now, there's a lot of headwinds in that sector as far as stock price. So it wouldn't shock me to see a lot of that taken off.
Did you guys see the OpenAI 500 billion valuation this week?
No.
They're looking to raise money at a 500 billion valuation. I'm like, what is that?
Bro, I would buy it. I would buy it.
You would buy it.
If I ever got a chance to get OpenAI shares, I would pay whatever price they want me to pay.
Wow.
I think they're a cemented winner.
I would go Anthropic.
At $500 billion, you would buy it?
I think that they are, today, I would put them in the top 10 companies in the world today.
Boy, I don't know if I'd have them in the top 100. I probably would, but
that's crazy disparity there between your guys' two opinions. That's interesting. That's maybe a topic for the after hours.
Artificial intelligence is the biggest shift in humanity.
Sure,
and you have the number one winner that's a private company.
No. You have the number one most recognizable name, arguably the number one most inflated name, and you're acting as though they have a monopoly on AI.
What's Anthropic's valuation? It's like 30 billion or something like that?
No, I think they're over 100.
Oh, 170.
Yeah.
Okay, that's substantially higher than I thought. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'd have to give it more thought then.
Yeah, they're all the big names are, because I think the market and to some degree, I think that the market is overinflated. Like, if there is a bubble, it's in private markets, not in public markets. I actually think private markets are more. You look at like Figure AI and these companies, like the valuations are just ridiculous.
Yeah, I would agree.
But OpenAI, I really do think is a special one.
I think that the real tell there, I don't think so. It could be. Most of what they're in is a commodity, but they do have scale. And so a commodity can absolutely work at scale like they're doing. They have a lot of partnerships. Like, they're fine. Since they lost a lot of talent to Mark Zuckerberg, if they nevertheless come out and they just continue just absolutely killing it in terms of development, then at that point, I think, okay, that'll be the second time that they've gone through basically a massive turnover, and they've still been great. Well, it's not just my opinion. A lot of people are looking this too, and LMSys had it earlier this way too, where GPT-5 was a launch, and it was not nearly as good as far as a step change. It's good. For the difference between GPT-4 and GPT-5. And it's also not number one instantly, which was usually the trend with LLMs is like, hey, whenever you launch out your new best model, then you become number one for a little while. Doesn't matter whether you're Grok, DeepSeek, or whoever.
I think that proved their mode even more, because it's not about just the benchmarks of how smart the model is. It's how useful. What's the utility of the model, and then how easily are you like in terms of the demand that GPT-5 is seeing. I don't care what people are saying. It is growing. Like you can benchmark it and say how smart it is on humanity's last exam. But at the end of the day, more users are using ChatGPT-5 than anything else.
I sent this thing to Roy in our private chat that actually showed the token requests for GPT had like fallen off a cliff. I can try to find it, but we can talk about it more. But I think I think we can all agree that GPT-5 was not well received and is arguably lower quality than 4.0. Can we?
I wouldn't say. I think the criticism is more benchmarked against its competitors. I don't think many people are saying that it's worse than its other models.
No, I haven't seen that. I mean, I just would rather invest, if I was going to invest in 500 billion valuation at OpenAI or 2.5 trillion Google. Give me Google. I don't know why you would invest in OpenAI instead at that valuation.
Well, I didn't see the 500 billion. I was more looking off of the 300 billion, and then it was 340 post money from what's his name? Masayoshi-san.
Here, let me throw up my screen, Tanner.
It was 340 from them post money, and then whenever that sort of backed out, then I saw another one for 300. That I would be very excited to do.
OpenAI in talks to sell around $6 billion in stock at a roughly $500 billion valuation came out after the market closed today. Shares would be sold by current and former employees to investors, including SoftBank, so on and so forth. They announced ChatGPT-5 last week. Rocky rollout. Some users complained about losing access to OpenAI's prior models.
You know what's so funny is I remember seeing the Microsoft deal for $50 billion valuation, and essentially buying nothing, like Air for $50 billion. And I was like, oh my God. Like Sam Altman's the grifter of grifters. He just grifted Microsoft.
Last round, look at this. The company announced the $40 billion funding round in March.
Yeah.
A couple months ago at $300 billion. So they've almost doubled in valuation in like a couple of months, basically.
Yeah, but my understanding is that round fell through. The $40 billion round was almost exclusively from Masayoshi-san. And that's why Elon kept going out about saying how they didn't have any, there is no money for Stargate, and that they're not actually going to be able to raise this, and that
it might be interesting, actually. Maybe this is an after-hours topic, most likely. But have you guys seen the Elon Sam thing, where basically like XAI is throwing a lawsuit Apple's way for preferential treatment? I found that to be really interesting, because they basically showed the Google Play Store's downloads, and Grok was number one. But then in the Apple Store, it showed like, all this ChatGPT, OpenAI in their featured section. And so he's basically saying like, hey, this is preferential treatment because they're not as widely downloaded as Grok is.
And I think that's right. I don't even think Sam Altman said anything to defer those claims. I think he honestly said, hey, aren't you doing the same thing here on X? Like,
Sure.
He didn't even really deny those claims. But that also goes to why I'm so bullish on, although I'm not super bullish on Apple, that's not saying that Apple's going to go to zero. Like, I do think that they're a $3 trillion company. I just don't know if they're going to be a $6 trillion company anytime soon. But selling a business or being the priority provider to a $3 trillion company is huge, you know, and they don't want to deal with Meta. They don't want to deal with, Google or any of these other companies. So it's these standalone businesses that Apple is going to deal with. Either they deal with Anthropic or they deal with OpenAI, but those are the companies they're going to deal with because there's no inherent ecosystem that they're going to be, giving an advantage to. So I got to tell you, man, I think like 500 is a lot for today, but I would do 300 billion and I would throw money towards that today.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe we can end off on this and then jump into the after hours. What do you guys think? So I made this post, and just for the SoFi community, I made this post a couple days ago. And Tanner, if you can throw it up, I said,
"Oh, sorry.
Do you guys remember back a couple years ago when SoFi was single digits, and we were all collectively saying that when this hits $25 or $30, that we would all plan some type of SoFi getaway or SoFi event?" And I said, like, should we just start planning something for the SoFi community? And that's a question to you guys. But what I found was interesting is just how many people commented $100 as like the next milestone. $45, $100, $100, $75, like, all of these different valuations, $50, $100, $100. And it's just crazy just to see how quickly that sentiment changes, where like last year, this thing was at, $8, $9, literally last year. And nobody would have imagined throwing up $100 price targets if it wasn't like 5 or 10 years away. And now they're like, oh, that's when we're going to, actually celebrate. And I'm here like, guys, we can definitely celebrate, even if we hit all-time highs. Like, that's going to be good enough for me, because this thing has done, 4x, 5x since the bottom, since we started like buying heavily.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Roy.
I mean, it's going to get there eventually. It's, just the way that the business is being built. It'll probably take longer than a lot of people think at this moment, just because that's psychological. It's like, oh man, look how much we've gone. So like $100 is, and I have people like say, well, can it do like a Robinhood? And they mean, usually they mean the price action. Like, I don't think SoFi is going over $100 like in the next year. If it did, that's amazing, and I love it. This is like 5+ years out, and 5 years is even pretty aggressive, just because it takes time to build what they're doing. Although they're growing very rapidly, they're growing very well. They don't have 90% cost control on their cost structure like Robinhood does. They're not a SaaS like Duolingo that they can just do more with less. They actually have to hire real people to build out these products. And that's not meaning that the business is bad. It just means it's okay to celebrate. It's okay to enjoy. You don't have to wait, for $100. Do what's best for you guys. But yeah, it's fun times. And one other thing, and then Tanner, at the end of this last year, we all did our price predictions for SoFi. And of course, we missed them the previous year. Now it seems like our price targets might be a little bit bearish.
What did I say? 25?
I said 25. I think you said 25, and Tevis might have prices right.
I said 28.5.
Yeah,
because that's the high. That's all-time high. Tanner, do you? Well, basically, I want to ask you guys: at what price do we want to do a little trip just to celebrate with ourselves, but also with the SoFi community? Is there a price, and is that something that's on the table for you guys, like, to chat about?
I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, and I'm like Roy. I mean, Tevis, I swear, he works so freaking hard on a day-to-day basis that the only thing that goes through his head is vacation. I don't even personally care at all.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I mean, in terms of where I think the price is actually going, I do think that that's going to take a bit. I do think that over the next 4 quarters or so, that we do end up seeing the $40 ranges. After that, though, we'll be priced quite high. We'll be priced like a fast-growing fintech. But at that point, once you start getting closer to those quote unquote price like perfection or something like that, that a hood might get to, doubling from there or 2.5xing from there becomes very hard. So I do agree with the 5 or so year timeline, but I do think that there could be some acceleration in their premium in the short term. And by short, I mean 18-month period.
Cool. Well, you guys are no fun. I was hoping to actually make some plans on this podcast live, but
yeah, I personally don't care at all.
Okay. Let's go after hours.
We gonna go do a DEXA scan soon or what?
Yeah, dude. Man, I'm waiting on you.
Yeah, I would like to do that even more than go on vacation.
I wouldn't go that far, but sure.
And that'll be like 20 minutes. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, join us in the after hours. In order to do that, you have to join the members. Down below, you'll see a join button if you're already subscribed to the channel. Yeah, I think it's on any of our channels. See you guys there. It'll be posted. It's not a live show. It will be posted tomorrow, sometime during the day. We always say we're trying to aim for a time, but of course, I'm in charge of how it gets distributed, so we're going to be late.
Oh, and also, just to answer that question, will you ever make after hours live?
No.
We can't.
Yeah.
Because we have no way of gating it to just members.
Yeah, it's a YouTube problem, not our problem.
Exactly. So like, unless we do members on like a Patreon or another platform and only there, we literally can't. We would love to do a live stream members only show, but this is why it's recorded.
Although usually about once a quarter, we'll just get to talking and be like, hey, this is the after hours. And we're talking about things that we normally would touch there too. We've not done that in a little while. Maybe we'll do that around the corner here, but not today.
Yeah, we always give a little. It's usually just sort of the conversation that we just had about OpenAI. That's a very common after hours topic. Would you guys agree? Just sort of talking about the state of new technology or something.
Tech AI. Sometimes what we're looking at. Like I think I gave a more detailed breakdown of air test systems than I've done elsewhere.
Yeah. I talk about Duolingo a little bit. That could be fun.
Yeah, that we got to talk about that one.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. Really do appreciate your time. But bye for now.